Welcome to Takeaways. My name is Jordan Brooks. I'm Senior Market Analyst with ALN Apartment Data. And this month's newsletter just went out, and we looked at the current national multifamily construction pipeline, kind of a check-in on what's going on from the perspective of properties in a lease-up phase, and then also looking at upcoming new supply with properties that are currently under construction, kind of padding out the next, 18 to 24 months of supply. There are some markets that continue to be active in terms of deliveries this year, but it's looking like they have probably already peaked for this development cycle. And some examples of markets in that category, we'd put Orlando. Orlando's a little bit of an interesting one because 2024 is going to remain a very active year and into 2025 as well. But 2023, it appears, was the peak in terms of new units delivered. And so there we're expecting a little bit of a shallow downward trajectory, but nevertheless, Orlando would be a market that has probably passed its peak for this cycle. A couple of other markets to point your attention to. Boston would be another one. Boston hasn't been as active as a lot of those larger Sunbelt markets or, markets further down south on the East Coast, but nevertheless has had a pretty good amount of new supply over the last few years. And we have seen a pretty considerable decline so far this year in new deliveries. We expect that to pick up a little bit as we get into the end of the year, but nevertheless, Boston likely is another of those markets where 2023 will be the high water mark for this cycle. And then a couple of other Sunbelt markets. One would be Nashville, the other Houston. Nashville's a little bit like Orlando in that this year and next will remain active years for deliveries. It's a little bit more of a shallow downward trend in deliveries, but again, 2023 likely to be the peak for Nashville. And then Houston, we've seen a sharper decline in deliveries so far this year compared to last year. That's expected to continue for all of 2024 and then also into 2025. So Houston really provides a good example of a large Sunbelt market where we're expecting a pretty considerable decrease in new supply in 2024 and 2025 relative to last year. The other thing that we didn't get too much into in the newsletter itself was markets where there is likely to be a fairly significant shortfall in net absorption relative to new supply. And these markets also fall generally into two baskets. The first basket would be areas where there's just so much new supply relative to the long-term average that even pretty good demand is not able to get close to what we're seeing on the demand side of the equation. And then the other basket of properties would be areas where new supply continues to be very active, but there's also a little bit more of a struggle on the demand side. And so in that first basket, you're looking at markets like Denver, Colorado Springs, Atlanta, Austin, and Dallas, Fort Worth. And again, these are areas with just a ton of new units coming into the market in 2024. And demand is just not able to really keep pace at all at this point. The second basket, and again, these are markets that you have to also bring in a little bit of demand struggles into the conversation, not just supply pressure. These would be markets like Phoenix, Tampa, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Seattle. All four of those markets have seen new supply not slowing down yet, and net absorption year to date through May of this year lower than what was the case last year. So again, fairly steady at a high level for supply, but we've seen a little bit of a step back in demand so far this year. And so the interplay of those two, as we look out to the rest of 2024, looking at the deliveries that are expected before the end of the year, those are areas where we may see a pretty dramatic shortfall as well between absorption and new supply. So I also wanted to point your attention to just a couple of events that I have coming up, if these markets are relevant to you. The first one would be July 23rd. This is a webinar for the Apartment Association of Greater Los Angeles. July 25th, I'll be speaking in person in Tampa for the Bay Area Apartment Association, the business exchange there. And that's going to be a session I'm doing with Cindy Odom from Greystar. And August 15th, Coastal Georgia Apartment Association. This will be a market outlook type of presentation as well in Savannah, Georgia. So be aware of those if any of those markets are relevant to you. Also want to point you always to our blog, alndata.com/blog for additional written content that we're getting put up. And of course, search for ALN Apartment Data across your social media channel of choice. Find us there. We put out all kinds of useful information across those channels. And then on YouTube, which is where you're watching this, don't forget to to subscribe, like, ring that notification bell. That helps us out a lot. So we appreciate that. Thanks for watching. My name is Jordan Brooks, Senior Market Analyst for ALN Apartment Data. See you next month.